พื่อไม่ให้เสียเวลานะคะก็เดี๋ยวขอเกริ่นคร่าวๆก่อนนะคะว่าเซสชั่นถัดไปเนี่ยเป็นอะไรนะคะจากเดิมนะคะที่เราจะเห็นว่าเมื่อเช้าเนี่ยพูดเรื่องโมบายมาค่อนข้างเยอะแล้วนะคะทีเนี้ยนักพัฒนาหลายคนอาจจะสงสัยว่าแล้วเราจะทำถ้าเกิดใครทำโมบายแอปอยู่นะคะแล้วก็อยากจะหารายได้ตรงนั้นเนี่ยเราจะทำยังไงได้บ้างนะคะวันนี้เนี่ยเราก็จะได้รับเกียรตินะคะจากผู้บริหารนะคะบริษัท Millennial Media นะคะ Welcome Vishivo Director of Global Monetization Solutions ขอเสียงปรบมือหน่อยค่ะเนื้อหาวันนี้หลักๆนะก็เดี๋ยวจะมอบให้กับทาง Vishivo เนี่ยเขาเล่าให้ฟังว่าในส่วนของการที่จะหารายได้จากตัวแอปพลิเคชันเนี่ยทำยังไงได้บ้างนะคะ
Thanks, Mimi. I'm not going to pretend that I understand what Mimi just said, but I have to say I'm really excited to come here today. And then, looking at this big crowd of developers, I'm really excited. And I apologize that I can't really speak Thai, but then, like just a little bit about myself. While they were setting this up, I came to Southeast Asia about 6 years ago, and I first moved out here when I was working for Google, and during that time I came to Thailand a lot. Okay, I can sit here. Really? Awesome. Sure. So I came here a lot, and my phone up there. Actually, I don't want my face there. I came here a lot, and a lot of my clients were here in Thailand. So I always think that out of the 6 Southeast Asian countries, Thailand is the most unique. Because I'm from Taiwan, so living in Singapore is kind of like a Chinese culture. It's not really that interesting to me, and I spent some time in the U.S., so the Western culture is also not that unique to me. But then, the Thai audience has always, one of the things that after I came to Singapore and working in Southeast Asia is that I like to go to YouTube and search for Thai ads. The Thai commercials are hilarious. I remember like one of those like faucet. I don't know, I'm pretty sure that you know that the faucet, they can turn a mundane object and then turn it into a video that's really interesting, and it is a commercial. So that's really very fascinating to me. But anyway, so what I'm here to tell you about is mobile advertising. So Millennial Media is a mobile advertising platform. Basically, what we do is we have a platform that we pull advertisers. So brand advertisers such as say McDonald's, Mercedes, Audi, they all they want to reach out to users. So they need a platform to reach users, by a platform that by which they can reach out to users. So we have that advertisers pool. We maintain a direct relationship with them, and then on the other side is people like me working for Millennial Media. I manage a team that reach out to developers in APAC. Basically, our job, if you want to distill it, is to hand out paychecks to developers. So basically, developers, if they want to monetize their mobile applications or games by mobile advertising, they come to us. Obviously, there are some other platforms out there that also do the same thing. But we're one of the top. We're a global company. We have offices in everywhere in the U.S., in Europe, and I'm based in Singapore, and I manage the Singapore team, and then also we have a team in Japan to help developers. So that's basically what Millennial Media do. So today I'm going to tell you how to monetize applications because we work with so many developers. Even though my job scope is to look at APAC, but I work with my global team to work with, I have regular conversations with folks at Rovio, Zynga, Skype, Alpha 7, if you know, Talking Tomcat. There are a lot of developers all over the world, and then their games or applications are used all over the place. So, my team is a really interesting team. We work with so many developers, like looking at what they do, how they monetize their application. Sometimes they use premium model. Sometimes they use, some of them use in-app purchase, and then a lot of them, because they're our partners, they use mobile advertising. So I'm going to talk about all these 3 models today. Before I get into that, what I always tell, some developers will come to us and ask, how do I be successful, in monetizing my application? It's not, and they're not even asking about which model they should choose. Just basically, what is the best way to do it. And this may sound like a cliche, but having a plan really is important because later on when I talk about the 3 models, you'll realize that every model has a different metrics and KPIs that you have to measure and then to drive. So, for example, mobile advertising, if you're going to go with mobile advertising, you need to drive up your impressions. Basically, you want a lot of people spending a lot of time playing your game, and then you also want high click-through rate. So basically what that means is that you want to have your ad placement implemented in a way that users will actually, it's easier for them to engage and click on the ad, something like that. But then if it's IAP, you have different objectives you have to drive. So having a plan is really important. Some of the partners, they start working with us without really a monetization plan. And then the second time around, they know that, so all these mistakes that I've learned, I turn that into lessons. And then next time they do it with us, like when they have a new product, they would actually consult us first and then say, okay, I think this works, banner ads works for me. Interstitials, I didn't do interstitial. I only had banner ads before, but interstitials is something that's driving a lot of revenue for me. I want to incorporate it, and then they have to think ahead how they integrate those ads. So having a plan really is important. I know this, this sounds easier said than done, but I think over the course of developing your application and then having a monetization plan, you will realize that you're gonna think back and think, I wish I had a plan, but that's okay. I hope after this talk I can give you some pointers. At least different, the 3 different models, and then you will realize what other things you have to plan ahead. So before we get all into that, so let's just talk about why do we want to make mobile applications. Mobile applications are media. When I say media, I like to say it's MMMC. What does that stand for? It's basically a main means of mass communication. So what does that mean? That means that we use mobile applications these days. I look at a lot of people. They're actually in Taiwan. We have a term for people like that, like you and I. People who bow their heads. So basically, on subway, you see people doing something like this, walking around. You see people, bow their heads, because mobile apps are embedded in our daily life. So it's no matter it's a chat messaging app that you're using, or even you're playing a game or using some applications to access news, whatever. These are all mass means of main means of mass communication. So, wherever there's an audience, there is money, because advertisers will come after us. You can, once you have a big audience, you can always devise some strategies to make money. So that's why mobile application is all the talks these days. Next up, I want to show you some stats. Just to let you know what the uptake of different platforms. Right now in our network, majority of our traffic comes from 2 main platforms. One is Android, and then the other is iOS. And then the reason I'm bringing this slide up is because working in APAC, in Asia, we realized that there's more Android traffic than iOS traffic. If it's in Europe or US, the difference is still starting to be more significant, but in APAC, most of the markets are all Android market. Like in Thailand, it's an Android market. In Singapore, it's slightly 50-50 between Android and iOS. If you talk about China, it's all Android. Japan, Android. Korea, Android. Indonesia, Android. Thailand, Android more. Philippines, and Vietnam. We're starting to see Android pick up significantly. So that really is an opportunity. Obviously, that means that what this chart shows you is basically says that you have a lot more users you can address. I know iOS has a lot of glamour around it, and then I do agree because on iOS generally users are more inclined to spend money, but sometimes you need to look at your passion. Like if you like to, which one do you like to develop more? But that chart basically shows you the skyrocketing install base of Android.
Okay.
Next, I want to show you the mobile penetration rate. So you'll see this, what they call that. This, by the way, this data is from Mary Meeker from KPCB Venture Capital Fund. Smartphone, I look at this chart. Smartphone is a total number of, smartphone as a percentage of total subscribers. So you can see there, China, they have the biggest mobile subscribers, followed by USA, Japan, Indonesia is right there, and then where's Thailand? I remember Thailand is right there, like 14 million mobile subscribers. And smartphone subscribers is 17% of that. That's very interesting data, but they're working at a network and they're working with a lot of mobile developers. I realized that there's, these data actually tell another story that if you're not in the industry, you wouldn't realize, which is mobile advertising and then in-app purchase. They somehow correlate to the number of smartphone subscriber base. So in countries such as, if you look at number 2, USA, 48% of total subscribers of smartphone. Japan at 64, and then next up UK 45, Korea 59. All these markets that are, to me, almost if they hit 40%, mobile advertising is very viable. And then in countries such as Iran, Egypt, Poland, South Africa, all these, it was kind of interesting. I thought that was, to focus on this slide, because there's a lot of data to consume. Or Philippines, Mexico, this tells you, you probably won't earn a lot of money if your users are in those countries. It just, I think that this is so because advertisers typically look at where their users are. If most of their users are still watching TV, reading newspaper, magazines, so they probably wouldn't want to spend so much money on mobile advertising. But if mobile smartphone user base reaches around 40 to 50%, they start to pump more money into it. It's not a fact; it's just something I observed. And then I can, looking at our own internal data, I can almost say that's true, 99% true. So you might want to take note if you want to know whether you can, make a valid business out of mobile advertising by looking at your user base. Are they a lot of them in USA, in Japan, in UK, or a lot of them are in, say, Russia, Italy, right? So anyway, so it's pretty interesting data for everybody to look at. Next up, I want to talk about the growth of different medias. So as you can see on the slide here, the data is from eMarketer. TV has been increasing slightly over the year. Online also is increasing at a slightly faster rate. Radio is declining, and then mobile, basically non-voice, basically that means that data usage is the only media that's growing at a much faster pace. So it went from 2009 from 22 to all the way here 82. So mobile obviously is the we kind of already know, but it's great to have data to back that up, that it's a medium that everybody's using more. So we look at all these data, we know, okay, mobile is interesting, we want to develop it, we want to make a business out of it, but how do I be successful? One thing is that what I talked about, to have a plan, but the second thing that's very important is to know your audience. So you really need to know. Again, it ties back to the the three models that I'm going to talk about, because like I just mentioned, like if you're, for example, if you ask this question, where are they located? If they are located in a lot of emerging markets where mobile advertising is not that prominent, then you might want to think about alternative monetization strategies. So maybe you're going to have mobile advertising, but also you want to incorporate in-app purchase. But if your users are, a lot of them are in, say, US, in UK, then you can at least, and then your applications generate a lot of impressions. Then hey, mobile advertising is a great strategy for me to use. So asking all these questions are very important. And then the other thing is that, for example, what kind of device do they use? What kind of operating system do they use? Because if a lot of your users are in, say, China, then IAP is okay. But then if you want to go with premium downloads, so basically you want users to pay upfront to use your app, it's going to be very difficult. Nobody's going to pay for that. So these are all the main questions you need to ask yourself for you to come up with a better plan. Next, this is the $1 million slide. Basically, this is the meat of this talk. I'm going to talk about the three main models. First, paid downloads. Second, in-app purchase. The third, mobile advertising. So for paid downloads, basically a lot of developers like this. Why? Because we put in our sweat and tear, and obviously we want to be compensated right away, right? So and then also it's money up front. So it's basically you're monetizing on the front end, but also what you need to realize is that the platform, so basically the Android Play Store, the Apple App Store takes 30% of every transaction. What's great about this is that you develop a very loyal user base, but it's really hard to scale, especially because it's really hard these days. We can observe from, we have a lot of stories to tell, and a lot of developers can share this with us, is that it's really hard to get users to pay for a mobile application, even though it's only 99 cents. It's really cheap. It's cheaper than most of the things that we consume. I think, if you want to buy a can of Coke or coffee, it's actually more than 99 cents. But for some reason, we just don't want to buy. We don't want to fork out money for that. So it's really hard to scale. Typically, paid apps, if you go to Apple Store or actually on the Google Play Store, you get more statistics that you can observe. You'll see that most of the applications that reach like million downloads, or 150 million downloads, or 100 million downloads, those are not dominated by free applications. The paid apps, typically, if you can hit 100,000 downloads, that's very significant. But what that also says is that it's less competitive. So basically, in both two main app stores, I would say 80%. There are stats out there. I don't have that stat on top of my head, but majority, I would say probably 80% of those apps are all free. So you're competing. Basically, you're not competing with those apps, those free apps. You're competing with paid apps. So you're competing in a smaller pond. So that means less competition, but also because you're gonna get a higher expectations from users. So basically, I actually personally, I would buy apps, pay money for apps to show support for developers. But once I pay for an app, I have very high expectations. Either I pay, it doesn't matter whether I pay 99 cents or $2.99 or even $5.99. I have the same expectations. If there's a bug, I want it to be fixed, and I feel I'm entitled because I pay for it, right? So you have to invest a lot in in customer support, in addressing issues immediately. So that kind of takes a toll on your operations as well. So it's really hard to have a successful paid download business. But there are still a lot of successful stories out there. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to discourage you. It's just that you need to look at what you're good at, and then if you want to go with paid downloads, you need to realize all the risks and challenges ahead of you. So this is paid downloads. In-app purchase. In-app purchase is something that's kind of all the rage these days, I would say. I work with a lot of developers in APAC, and specifically, there are a lot of game companies in China. They love this model. Basically, what it does is that it's a native in-game enhancement, in-app too, but mostly I think a lot of cases it's in-game, and then to drive sales, and then for all these virtual items or things that you can buy in-app, they range from 99 cents to $99, and $99 I think it's a hard limit app stores impose. And it's really interesting if you I remember there are some games that would charge you for a virtual item for like $59, or I've seen $99 items too. So I don't think, I just can't imagine someone who would pay $99 to buy something like that. But apparently there are. And if you think about that, if you say you have 1,000 users, and then only 10 of them bought, that $99 item, then you make pretty good money, right? So it's, I guess it is viable, and then you're just, banking on there. Some of these crazy guys who would actually fork out that kind of money for a virtual item, and then it can only be used within that game. But still, I mean, that's a very very viable business model, because you're lowering the entry point for users. Users, they don't have to pay anything. There's no cost to them. They can just download it, experience it, and if they like it, it becomes a loyal customer. Then they might develop the habit to start purchasing items. So that's why, like if you want to operate on an in-app purchase basis, what you need to do is find the sweet spot between the hardcore gamers and then the casual gamers. And then there are some terms, like in the West, that they call it the whales versus the Millennials. And in China, a lot of these developers, and then if I talk to a lot of Japanese developers too, they call them the hardcore gamers. So these hardcore gamers is like, they make it sound like they don't have a life. These people, basically what they do every day is play this game. They want to be the best in this game. So either they have the best car, they have the best character, whatever. They want to beat everybody in game. So it's all your game has to. Basically, your product team needs to find a way to engage with to discover these users, these hardcore users, and then engage them, entice them to keep buying. But one thing you need to realize is that still, the 80, I would say for this, it's kind of like almost 10. It's not 2080, it's 1090. So basically, probably only 10% of your total user base is paying users. The users who are going to bother with go through in-app purchase. But still, like majority of the user base are still free users. So these free users are very important to you. You might think that, yeah, okay, I have people paying for my game, paying for my work. Free users are not important. That's wrong. It's very important. Actually, your free users are your marketing team. It's all, these users basically, if you piss them off in some way, they're gonna gripe, they're gonna write bad reviews, and then it's gonna affect your ability to acquire new users. And if you why that is, it's actually very easy to think about, because ask yourself, if you use an app and then that app doesn't work, for some reason you're pissed off, you're gonna write a review, you're gonna leave a 1-star review and then write something, say it doesn't work. If you go to App Store right now, if you're on your phone or on your computer, go there, check it out. A lot of apps, you'll see the rankings, and then if you filter it, you're gonna see a lot more negative reviews than positive ones. It's just human nature. If I'm angry, I want to dent it. But if I'm okay, or I'm slightly happy, I'm not gonna bother and go to the App Store and leave a review. That's just the way it is. So what is very important with IAP is that you need to balance it. You need to keep these free users happy about your content, and then still playing it, albeit in a less engaged way, because you're not engaged enough to pay for your work. But you need them to be there, so your ranking, will be good enough. And then lastly, it's mobile advertising. So mobile advertising, basically what it does is that you're utilizing your free users, and because majority of your users are not going to pay for anything, and they might as well find a way to monetize these, make them pay for you, right? So if you choose a mobile advertising partner, what it does is that they are your business partners, and then people like us, we're your business partners. All you need to focus is on making your game or application good, and then generate a lot of users, You don't need to think about anything else. All you need to do is plug and play, plug in the SDKs, the banners, and then we take care of showing banners or rich media or video ads for you. And we find advertisers to pay money. And then what you need to do is that just collect, you have an account with us. As long as you have a lot of traffic, you generate money, we give you a paycheck every month. That's it. And then we take care of the delivering the ads and the serving the ads. And also, we also, for us, Millennial Media, we provide location and demographic targeting capability. So it's another way for us to generate more money for you guys. So I'm gonna jump ahead and talk about just mobile advertising because that's something that I know the most about. So mobile advertising is a $8.41 billion business. If you think about that, it's actually it makes a lot of sense. Mobile advertising, not just mobile advertising is going to stay here. If you think about all the brands, basically they need to reach out to users. So they have to spend money on advertising anyway, but the question becomes, where do they spend that money? It used to be TV, magazine, and then the print media, and then it moved down to online. But then, as we just talked about, mobile is starting to consume more of our time than on other media. So mobile advertising is a very lucrative business, and it will only grow. And this chart basically shows there are a few big mobile ad platforms out there in the world right now. Google is still the largest because it has been around for a long time. Millennial Media is this is the latest data from IDC. We're number 2 at 16.7%, and Apple iAd is number 3 at 15.1%. So what I always tell developers is that what you want to do is that you probably shouldn't just work with one partner. A lot of my partners actually either work with us solely, or they would use another network to complement it. And yeah, so basically you're hedging your risk. You make sure that if this platform performs better, you give them more traffic today, and then maybe next month the other platform performs better, then you give them more traffic. But what's important about picking a partner to work with is that you want to look at 3 key characteristics. Fill rate, basically you want your impressions to be filled with an ad, so that's very important. And the other is eCPM. eCPM basically it's an index. By the way, eCPM stands for effective cost per thousand impressions. So that's an index of how a platform monetizes your impression. So basically what that means is that for every 1,000 impressions, how much money you're gonna get. So it could range from 50 cents US dollars to $1, sometimes even $5. So it depends on the capability of the network. And the other important thing is that advertiser quality. You want quality advertisers, like the type of advertisers I mentioned, like the well-known brands, the automobile manufacturers, Audi, Mercedes, or Starbucks, McDonald's, all these brands, they have the money to create more unique and engaging advertising experience. So those are important. You want your advertising partner to be the network that you choose to be able to provide you with those. And one thing that you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to wait until last minute. Again, that goes back to the first point I mentioned. Have a plan. You want to be able to plan ahead how you're going to utilize mobile advertising. You want to integrate ads early in your development process. Why that is? Because you have to integrate. There's a technical aspect tied to it. You need to integrate SDKs, and then obviously when there's a code, sometimes you need to troubleshoot. Make sure that your app goes to QA. So you want to start that process as early as possible. And also you want to test it to make sure these ads would actually show correctly, so that the user experience are good at the optimum. And work with your partners. If you choose to work with us, talk to us. We're here to help you, plan ahead and solve problems that you're going to have. But anyway, so I want to go to the last slide to show you, what are the things that you need to do if you choose mobile advertising to make it successful. Basically, mobile advertising, you want to drive up your impression numbers. The higher the number you have, the better the chance you're going to make a lot of money. And then the other thing is that good implementation of placement of ads would increase your CTR, click-through rate. The more engagement you have in your app, the more money that you're going to make. And then also, you want to enable all formats. When we think about mobile advertising, I think a lot of you are thinking about just banner ads, but there are a lot more other formats that you might not realize. For example, interstitial. Interstitials is a format that slides in between stages or changes between pages. Those are a great opportunity to monetize as well. And the other thing is that past available metadata. So a lot of applications collect a lot of data for users, like users' location and then their demographic information. If you pass those if you work with us, Millennial Media, we'll send you more ads, and basically what that means is that you're going to earn more money. And then again, you want to start early. So lastly, I want to just quickly go through some basic stats of Millennial Media. We reach 420 million unique users monthly globally, and we can target 7,500 devices, different devices. And then globally, we have about 42,000 applications that have our SDK integrated, and we serve about 45 billion impressions a month. So that's basically, my presentation going through the 3 different models. Hopefully that's helpful to you. And our platform basically is a platform that makes money, but also helps developers to reach out to users. So I have a code here that if you want to, promote, if you already have an Apple game and you want to use advertising to drive more users, this is the code that you can use. Basically, you can spend $1 with us, and we give you $100 for free. So basically, you get $101 to advertise, to buy clicks, and then drive user base. All right, so that's my presentation. I think we're going to open up the floor for a question. Well, actually, let me ask. Is there anyone here who are developing mobile applications or games? Raise your hand. I have an app, mobile app. What game? Okay. And how many of you are using using one of the models? Let's say pay downloads. No, nobody's using pay downloads. What about in-app purchase? All right. What about mobile advertising? Well, I guess us 4, us 5 need to talk then. Well, actually, so that's the whole point of me being here is that if you have any questions, about mobile advertising, you don't know, how do I utilize it? How do I make money from it? What is the best way to do it? We're here, and then, if you're shy, you don't want to ask a lot, ask questions in front of the audience, we have a booth out there, you can ask me. But I think I saw a hand there. Do you have a question?
Hi. Could you advise what is the best way to choose the advertising service? Because in my perception, I think that the advertising in mobile app is annoying, and I will never click. Only one way that they will get my money is not my money, my click. Is when my baby play my phone and click.
Yeah. Also, thank you for your question. Actually, like I mentioned, I'm the kind of person who would actually pay for an app. But looking at data, basically, because we generate about 45 billion impressions a month globally, and click-through rate, mobile click-through rate is generally around 7% to like 1.2%. Well, it fluctuates, it depends on the app and then also the region. But that's basically, like you can apply this range of click-through rate is applicable across the world. Every country have more or less the same click-through rate. So what that says is that, yes, some of us might think that, yeah, I don't ever use mobile advertising, but still that it's a model that a lot of users actually engage in. So that's why, if you think about this, why do advertisers want to pump in 8.41 billion? They have to get something back. If they don't get it back, they will never use mobile advertising. So data kind of shows that it does work, because click-through rate is always like that, and then we not only do we measure the click-through rate, but also the conversion rate. So we measure conversion rate of like sign-ups for to test drive a Mercedes car or whatever, like a Toyota car. It doesn't matter the brand. We run a lot of these campaigns, and we measure the conversion rate. And those conversion rate, depending on the service, they range, it varies too. But there's always a consistent range of these stats. So what it says is that yes, it might not apply to you, but it applies to someone else. And if money is always flowing into this platform, and every month we're handing out paychecks to developers, that shows it's doing someone else's service. It's working for someone else. It might not be you, but yes, we have so many people out there in the world, so obviously it's working.
Okay, one last question.
Sorry about that.
Sure.
Is there any psychological study about why people click through those anyway?
I think there are a lot of studies. I mean, advertising has been around, right? So before it was TV, basically what it does is that, there's no targeting at all. But then it moves on to digital type of advertising, then kind of like online. Then there's a lot more targeting behind it. Then it starts to become more effective. I used to sell at Google, I sell AdWords, and it does work. Even though personally I don't really click on those ads, but so that's the same question that applies to what I was selling before. But it still works. I mean, obviously a lot of users saw those ads, and then they are getting a good deal out of it. So that's why advertisers are willing to pay money for it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that with technology improvement, like Millennial Media, we do a lot more just simple targeting. We would create like what we call audience profile of users, identifying users who are in-market auto buyer. Based on my behavior online, on my mobile phone, I'm likely to want to buy a car during this period. And then what we can do is we show relative ads relative to automotive to this particular user. And because I'm in that mindset, I want to purchase something, so I'm more likely to engage and then actually getting something out of it, because I am looking to buy something, and then showing me relevant ads at the right time, at the right place, is benefiting to me. So that's why users would actually engage with these ads. Yeah, I would say, yeah, benefits. It's something that benefits me. And then also I trust this. So having a trusted platform to work with, a platform that doesn't bring on board all kinds of bad advertisers. I mean, there are a lot of advertisers who are fraudulent out there. A platform like us, we actually do selective pick of good quality, good advertisers that kind of like builds trust with users as well. Sure.
I think there are a lot more questions, but then I'll ask them to talk to you at the booth.
Sure, yes, because so we have a booth out there, and if you have questions, you want to know more about advertising, come talk to us.
Okay. Thanks so much,
Thank you very
Beijing.
much,
Thanks so
Beijing.
much.
Thank you.